In Arcana Heart, one of the best ways to start your offense is by just jumping and pressing neutral homing and then attacking. So something like this. And one of the reasons why it's so good is because it's very hard for the opponent to counterattack it. So when you press homing, you can change your angle a bit and you can change your speed a bit. So it makes it very hard for the opponent to counterattack, and it's very easy for you to make sure you land your attack. And then once you, even if you don't get a hit, you just force your opponent to block, you're still generally going to be at an advantage. So then you can just have an advantage if you press homing and do neutral homing and attack. So if your opponent were doing that, one thing that you can do to beat that is you cut off the homing. So the way I like to think about it is you hit the spot where the opponent is going to press homing. So like you hit that spot, and then because they can't block when they're pressing homing, you get a free hit and you can generally get a combo off of it. And there's different ways you can do that. So you can do forwards homing like I'm doing here. So you press forwards homing and do a fast attack. Another good way to do that is you just do a jumping air attack. So as long as you can get in range, you can hit the spot where they're going to press homing with the fast jumping air attack, and then you get a free combo. And then sometimes you can have grounded moves that cover that spot. So like this. So there's a few different options, but the key idea is you hit the spot where the opponent is pressing homing, and then you beat them out so they can't do their approach, and you get a free hit. Now, sometimes you have to be really fast, and if you're a little bit too slow, they end up hitting you first. Like this, kind of. So you sometimes you have to kind of guess where they're going to press homing so that you can cover it fast enough. But if the opponent is approaching really quickly, then it's really easy to guess where they're going to press homing, because in order to go really quickly, you have to press homing right after you jump. And you can jump forwards or backwards, but no matter what, you're going to be in about the same spot every time. So you know exactly where they're going to press it. They're going to press it right off of the ground. So right above where they are on the ground. So you know where that's going to happen, and you can cover it. And then sometimes people will approach from farther away like this, so they'll try to get out of range of things like that, so they don't get hit in that way. But you can still cover it the same way. You just cover the spot where they're going to press homing. You try to get there. You press forwards homing, and then you just attack when they press homing, and you get a free hit. And then again, a lot of times they might see you coming and they don't attack, but you force them to block and you get an advantage anyway. And another thing that works in a really similar way is certain long-range moves that have a lot of startup. So this is a good example of one because it goes a long distance and it has a great amount of homing, so it's really hard to dodge this projectile. And if you block it, you're in block stun for a long time. So it's a really effective projectile. But the problem when you use it is that it has a lot of startup. So if the opponent just hits the spot where you want to throw it out, you're going to get hit. And it's actually so much startup that I can move really late and still beat it out a lot of times. So here I'm moving really late, and they're already throwing out the attack as I'm starting to move, and I still beat it out. So for certain long-range attacks like this, you can use the same idea, and you just hit the spot where the opponent wants to throw it out, and then you get a free hit. So doing things like this can really help prevent your opponent from getting like the advantage in a lot of situations and getting free hits, and it can give you free hits when your opponent does something that can be countered. So you have to know things like this to prevent your opponent from always like getting an advantage by like homing at you or something like that. Anyway, that's all for this video.